Fox News alert now. The sanctions on Iran will be back in place by midnight tonight. They were suspended after the Obama-era nuclear deal, which President Trump pulled out of back in May. Ambassador John Bolton, the president's national security advisor, with me now from the North Lawn. And, sir, nice to see you again.
Well, glad to be back.
Thank you for coming back with us. I got a lot to go through, so let's see how much we can cover the next couple of minutes, all right? What will major economic sanctions do against the Iranian regime?
Well, when they come back into effect tonight, we've really already seen some of the implications. The pressure on the Iranian economy is significant. The value of its currency is going through the floor. We've seen public reporting of massive flights of capital out of Iran. The elites are getting nervous. We continue to see demonstrations and riots in cities and towns all around Iran, showing the dissatisfaction the people feel because of the straitened economy. More sanctions come back in another 90 days. But this is an indication of how strongly we feel that the Iranian nuclear weapons program, its ballistic missile program, its support for terrorism, its belligerent activity in the Middle East have to stop.
I've known you for a number of years, and I know how you feel about this regime. So let's call it what it is. You're trying to break the regime's back economically, are you not?
Well, our policy is not regime change, but we want to put unprecedented pressure on the government of Iran to change its behavior. And so far, they've shown no indication they're prepared to do that. The president's made it clear repeatedly that he viewed the Iran nuclear deal as one of the worst in American diplomatic history. I thought he was right on target on that. We are not going to allow Iran to get nuclear weapons. We're still talking to our...
You can say and you can argue that you don't want regime change, but you know the protests that have been happening over the weekend have gotten rather intense. And they're not protesting America, they're protesting their own rulers and leaders today.
And with good reason.
Understood. Make the case. What do you know about these protests today that we need to understand?
Well, look, we know basically what we're seeing in the press, that these are widespread, that they're spontaneous, they're not coordinating, they're not due to the reimposition of American sanctions. They reflect long-standing opposition inside Iran to the regime, to the economic deprivation, to the repression, to the religious intolerance. I think this regime is on very shaky ground. The real question is whether the Revolutionary Guards Corps and the Ayatollahs will use force against their own people. But what we're focused on is the nuclear weapons program, the ballistic missiles, the support for terrorism, and the belligerent activity militarily.
So the phrase was maximum economic pressure from the president. Would you admit that you're using the strength of the American economy right now as a weapon globally, maybe in Iran, maybe in North Korea? Would you agree with that framing?
Well, I think we're using the economic system we have and its strength to put pressure on these rogue regimes. They're the ones that have been defying their own commitments and obligations, the unanimous decisions of the UN Security Council that they not get deliverable nuclear weapons. It has not impressed the Ayatollahs. I think we're going to make them see the light.
Okay, what would satisfy this administration? What could the leaders of Iran do?
Well, they could take up the president's offer to negotiate with them, to give up their ballistic missile and nuclear weapons programs fully and really verifiably, not under the onerous terms of the Iran nuclear deal, which really are not satisfactory, to stop their support for international terrorism, to give up their military activities in the region. You know, this is a complete package. The president has spoken to numerous European leaders about this. If Iran were really serious, they'd come to the table. We'll find out whether they are or not.
That's a big ask. I think you would admit that, right? And this is a complete reversal of American policy.
It is certainly a 180-degree reversal from the failed Obama administration. Absolutely.
The president last week said he would sit down and talk with the Iranian leadership. Is that real, or how real is it?
I think he was very serious about it. If the Ayatollahs want to get out from under the squeeze, they should come and sit down. The pressure will not relent while the negotiations go on, much as in the case of the maximum pressure campaign against North Korea.
Well, has Tehran suggested that they would talk to President Trump?
No, they flatly turned them down, and I think that's an indication they're not serious about stopping their malign behavior. I think this regime is dedicated to getting deliverable nuclear weapons. They have been for 25 years, and I don't think the Iran nuclear deal slowed them down at all.
Can you isolate these European countries and companies that are right now forced to make a decision? Do they do business with Iran, or do they side with you?
Well, you know, we've been in continuous discussion with our friends in Europe about this, and while some of the governments still want to adhere to the nuclear deal, their companies are running from it. The amount of business they're doing in Iran is down substantially. That's a real contributing factor to the pressure on Iran, because the business people know they want to do business with the United States, and if it's a choice between us or Iran, that's a pretty easy choice for them. That's pressure their own governments in Europe are now beginning to feel.
Okay, the way I understand it, you will put on more sanctions in another 90 days or so, and I believe that's the oil. Perhaps in early November, if I'm right on the calendar. There was the threat that they would block the Strait of Hormuz. I guess it's always real or imagined. Do you believe the Iranian leadership would act on that in that crucial choke point there between Iran and...
Well, the Iranian leadership has made a lot of mistakes in the past several years. Trying to close the Straits of Hormuz would be the worst mistake yet.
Do you believe it to be real?
I don't think that they're serious about it. I think they're still bluffing, but they should not underestimate our determination that we're going to put pressure on them until they give up their pursuit of nuclear weapons and all the other activities that I mentioned. That we are very serious about.